and democratize their situation. They might not get elected to be head of the Kremlin, so they came in and killed it. But I saw what it took for people to move from the kinds of humanistic values that we see being voiced at the Occupy sites now globally, not just in certain cities of the United States, to move from those values into the concrete mechanisms of governing and of economy. And it's an alliance between the initiators, those who have the vision in mind, which often are young people or artistic people who are used to following their imaginations and their intuitions. An alliance between them and, you could call it, the technocrats or the researchers or the intelligentsia, people who've been researching what works and what doesn't work in various situations in economics, in politics, in industry. And so being somebody, myself, who has a PhD as a political scientist and who has studied these opportunities that I mentioned earlier to institute soul-based values in economy, one of the things I would like to continue doing is bridge between the initial activists and the people who've had expertise researching pieces of this and make a unification of the ideals with the mechanisms. After all, a lot of what the world is waiting for, as voiced through the media and as voiced through questions by different politicians or even questions by people we might know in our neighborhood, is, okay, I like maybe what these people occupying places say is wrong with our society. I agree with that, and I like what they say they might want our society to become, but how are they really proposing that we move from here to there? And so it's bridging between the technocrats, the intelligentsia, the researchers, and the activists that is an important step I'd like to participate in.
Okay. Thank you. And also, one of the things that we had talked about earlier is that the perception out there, although I believe it's changing with the media getting a little bit better, more accurately representing what Occupy is. Because I think Occupy is in the process of defining itself every day as it goes. There's no hierarchical structure that's here. It's a flat structure, so you've got more pieces and voices that are able to be heard. Can you just talk actually a little bit about the assembly meeting that you participated in on, just so the people out there can get an understanding of how this is actually in the process of organically coming together, that this is really a sense of community, being able to hear all issues as opposed to, somebody running off with their list of demands that doesn't accurately represent, let's say the democracy that's in the process of forming here.
Right. I've heard several of the people at the New York Occupy mention the phrase horizontal democracy, and this is what you're talking about, and what we see here is the awareness of the occupiers that restricting people to just obey things that have been decided by higher-ups hasn't necessarily led and isn't likely anymore to lead to all the solutions we need in society. And gathering information from everyone who's had concrete experience with what they're talking about, as well as listening to people who, even without concrete experience, have important perceptions and intuitions to share with the rest of us, is how a society can have a better chance to move forward. So there is a General Assembly at all the occupations I know of, usually in the evening, sometimes also in the morning, where anyone can speak. The way to understand, therefore, from the outside world, how to categorize or, unfortunately, too often pigeonhole a movement like this is not to put it on a left-right spectrum. If the movement were to allow that, if it were to become that, it couldn't offer what our countries and economies and civilization needs as their next step. We've seen how the left-right spectrum runs out of the ability to see the whole truth because it's made of political parties. Party comes from part. People who see part of the truth and then wed themselves to defending that as if it covers the whole situation are not capable of answering the full range of needs of society. It's not really an intelligent or scientific way to take into account all of the real facts of what possible solutions are and what actual needs are. So instead of people thinking of where along a horizontal line you position such a group as the Occupy movement, whether it's left, whether it's right, whether it's center, I think the movement is more accurately defined by saying, A, we're not one-dimensional. We don't fit on a single line. But rather, we are both aiming for something higher, what's above the line, and we're trying to be guided by something that's deeper, what's below the line. Now, it's a facile kind of image, but at least the point is that by deeper, we're talking about, this is a movement that's coming from basic human values about justice, and trying to squeeze the solutions for how to make justice into part of the truth on the right or part of the truth on the left isn't going to include the whole of humanity and even the whole of a single person and what they need. And so in that sense, it's deeper than just left or right.
And so, if I can jump in here, so really, this is, we talk about the 99%, this really is about everybody.
If it's going to be true to the values of humanism, of spirituality, the things you see expressed here, yes, it's about the 100%. But it began as a fury, however nonviolent, of no longer tolerating what is being done to the vast majority, whether that be 75, 80, 90%. So the phrase of defining, we are the ones who are being left out of the economic growth of the country. That's where the percentages came from. When people have been claiming that, oh, the system is fine, you don't need to change it. Look how the gross national product is increasing. Although, of course, the system collapsed and the gross national product was decreasing from 2008 to 2009. The mere fact was that even before then, in the United States, the figures are, for the 30 years before the economic collapse, the incomes of people were growing apart. So there was a smaller and smaller number of percentage of people who were gaining as the national economy, quote, grew. And the vast majority of people, their income was either declining or staying the same. And it was becoming a wider and wider gap. And that was where that 99 versus 1 came about.
And just to point this fact out from a humanitarian standpoint, what we've seen is we've seen crimes against the environment. We see that, and we see how corporate greed has bought and influenced the cleanup of the Gulf oil spill, but also hiding things from the public as it relates to the spill, but also hiding things about Fukushima. So there's so much that this is about and that it can be about. But when we see vets that come back from Iraq, and we also saw how our Vietnam vets were treated, I mean, this is a part of society that is connected to us, and we are connected to them. And, they are making their voices heard here, and there's nothing more powerful than seeing a Vietnam vet standing next to an Iraqi vet. There might be a 40-year difference here, but their issues are still the same. So after all of these years, we look at an economy that's based on destructive life energy, bombs, nukes, war, and wouldn't it be nice to actually get in touch with what many people want, which is peace, which is unity, and which is cohesion, and to create an economy that's based on positive life energy versus one that's based on a destructive life energy. So one last thing, if you don't mind, could you tell people a little bit about your educational background?
Yeah, I have a PhD in political science from Stanford University. I also studied overseas in Eastern Europe and in London, international relations and societal development. I've studied French, I speak that language. I do research that gets into spiritual questions, which is why we were talking about the soul earlier. Scientific research, again, not dogmatic, not positioning itself just within one tradition. And I'm a curious seeker of all kinds of information, but those are my official labels so far.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add in?
No, but I appreciate the time to reach whoever is listening to this now and seeing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. Thanks.